Hi folks, it's Darcy from the Purposeful.com. Welcome back to another edition of Drycember, where today we're talking about time to dry and how time affects our drying. So what's Drycember, you ask? Drycember are small, bite-sized chunks of learning how to hydrate every day through December, and I hope you'll join us for more. You can hit the subscribe button down below if you're interested in it. So yesterday we talked about temperature and how it affects our drying. Today we're talking about time and how time is the bigger indicator of when things are going to be dry, not the temperature. Time is relative when it comes to dehydrating. Your time is going to always be different than my time for even the same food and even maybe the same machine. You might see recommendations of time windows, time frames that things should be dried in, and you may find that maybe you put something in that should only take 6 hours, 6 to 10 hours, and you're on hour 15 and it's still not dry. That's one of those things that happens. You'll have manuals written that were written by people who don't dehydrate and are just going based off something else they saw, or you'll have time recommendations from something like the National Center for Home Food Preservation or my website that give you a time frame about when things should be dry. But something that I do is I try to make a note of this took longer than the recommended time. Recommended, that's not even a word, than the recommended time, because there are factors that affect it. So today we'll talk about those factors. So the first factor in how time is relative is your machine. Your machine's wattage affects how it dries. If you're running a machine that's 250 watts, that machine's going to take longer to dry the same carrots as is a machine that runs at 600 or 1000 watts. They're going to go faster because they're a more powerful machine. Now, does it mean that your smaller 250 watt machine is not good? It is. You're drying. Go for it. It just means that you need to know things will take longer in it than they take in a more powerful machine, and that's okay. Another factor is the mechanics of your machine. Higher wattage machines tend to dry faster. Cabinet machines tend to dry faster. Lower wattage machines tend to dry slower. Stackables tend to dry slower. It's not that everything is going to work out the exact same. It's just that the tendency of the way that those machines are constructed make things dry at different rates as well. Now, another factor is the home's humidity. Your home, if it is humid inside, is going to take a little longer to dry things than if it's not humid. If you're running if your home is running at like 60, 70, 80% humidity because the weather is just humid and you don't have air conditioning, so that air is not working through that humidity for you, your produce is going to take longer to dry than if you're in an arid region where it's always quite low humidity. Your machine's going to be able to take the moisture out of your food and dissipate it into the air much more efficiently than a home that has high humidity. Something I keep, not that you need this at all, it's just something that we happen to have. We're a bit of a weather geek family, and I use this a lot to know what my dehydrating is. So I'm doing this slowly so it doesn't reset itself. I have this little temperature and humidity indicator that we keep in the house that shows the temperature of the house as well as the humidity level. So I know that if our home happens to be running at 60% humidity, that maybe there are some things that I don't want to do because I need to have it lower humidity. Now, I dry no matter what. I'll dry every day of the year. I'll dry when it's raining and storming outside. I'll dry when it's like right now, when the relative humidity in our house is only 20% right now. I do it no matter what, but knowing that number helps me know that, oh, it's humid today. It's going to be humid in the house, and we're not going to run the air conditioner today, so it's going to take a little longer for something to dry. It just gives me an indication, so I know. Another thing that affects your drying time is how you prepare your food. If you cut at the recommended thickness of a slice of something that you might see on my website or NTHFP, that's going to be the window that they give as a recommendation is going to be for that slice. If you choose to make them thicker or if you choose to make them thinner, your time will be affected by how you prepare your food. Another indicator of your drying time, machine, time, temperature. Oh, the temperature. There we go. That was the one I forgot. If you are drying your your produce at the recommended temperature, you'll probably fall within that window of dehydrating. But if you choose to lower it, like we talked about yesterday, to save on aesthetics or to save more nutrients, that's going to take longer to dry than if you dry at the recommended temperature. And if you happen to have a machine that doesn't have a temperature dial at all, that you have no control over it, it's probably running about 20 degrees hotter than recommended, so it's going to probably dry a little faster. So those are the things that you need to remember, that when you're drying and the things that you're trying to dry aren't taking the time that the book or the website or your manual say, know that it's just going to take a little bit longer, and it's okay. Use that window to kind of gauge how you're going to do things, but just keep drying. Bananas, I think I said earlier, bananas are the worst. This is probably the biggest failure that I see when people start dehydrating, is that they see a book and it says slice your bananas a 1/4 inch, they put them on your trays, they should take 12 hours to dry, and they're like at 24 hours and their bananas still aren't dry. It's because there are so many different factors. If you've got a highly ripe banana in a small machine and it's really humid in your house, it's gonna take longer. So my advice is dry until it's dry. And how do you know when that is? We'll talk about that tomorrow. I hope that you've learned something today. If you missed yesterday's video, I'll have it right here in the end card. The series is here if you want to catch up on all the videos you might have missed. You can subscribe to the channel here. And I'm so glad you were here for another edition of Drycember, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.